Hey, what's up, everybody? We're gonna be watching this video about CoreKeeper. It's basically gonna go through like what the game is and all the things it's like. And I think a lot of people should watch this video because this game, I feel like not a lot of people know about it. Like everyone knows Terraria, everyone knows Minecraft, everyone knows. I think there's one more I'm missing that I can't think of on the top of my head right now. But like the point is, everyone knows those. Oh, Roblox, I guess. But that's not really the same, actually. Take that one back. But you know what I'm saying? Like, this is like Minecraft Terraria with lots of RPG elements. And, like, this is like one of the best games I've ever played. Like, this is definitely in the top, like, I've played a lot of games, so maybe not top 10, maybe like top 20, which is like top 10 for other people. I've just played too many games where it's kind of hard to put it that, like, in a top 10.
CoreKeeper is basically the
Well, yeah,
all-encompassing
I know.
child of Terraria, Minecraft, and Stardew Valley.
Stardew
Are you in
Valley,
yet?
that's what I was
Because that
thinking
would
of.
be enough for most people, and it was certainly enough for me. Terraria is one of my favorite games of all time, and because of that, I'm going to be comparing CoreKeeper to it a lot in this video. I've played through it so much, whether in vanilla with various mods or experimenting with different builds, that
I
I've
haven't
been
really
looking
played
for a game
modded.
to scratch that itch for years. In no way will CoreKeeper stop me from returning to Terraria every couple of months. However, it absolutely feels like the universe is giving me what I need to fill that time in between. Recently, I was given the opportunity to preview the upcoming 1.0 release of CoreKeeper, a game that
It's
sounded
already out,
interesting to
by the
me,
way,
but I
guys.
didn't really know what to expect. In fact, by the time this video releases, the 1.0 will probably be out already. As it turns out, I not only love the game, but it's exactly the type I feel like I've been searching for. In the interest of giving you the best experience possible, I'm going to explain everything you need to pull the trigger on
Bro's
CoreKeeper
farm
without
is so
spoiling
small.
anything super huge,
Like,
because
look
you're
at
going to
my
have an
farm.
incredible
It's
time
big
if
dick
you
compared
go
to that.
in mostly blind. Just a quick
Yeah.
word of
Don't
warning,
watch any
there
videos
will
for
be some
this,
relatively early game
like, that
bosses,
tell you
enemies, and
how to
areas
play.
that I may mention or show on screen.
This
What I
video
do
will be
discuss
fine.
is barely the tip of the iceberg, so it's not
I
anything
skimmed through
major,
it.
but I figured I'd mention it anyways in case you want to go in 100% blind, in which case why did you click on the video at all? If you enjoy this though, please drop a like and consider leaving a comment, it helps out a ton, and if you'd like to see more like it, subscribe.
Ooh, I'm getting started in the
Beginning the
sauce.
game, you're treated to a simple cutscene for a bit of setup, but not before making your character and world.
Yeah, very
The
Stardew vibes with the
customization is
start,
pretty simple,
like the
it's
start
just
out.
stuff like colors, hair, eyes, what you'd usually expect from something out of this, which I was okay with. However, you also get the chance to choose a background for your character, which provides some small bonuses to certain stats and also
Basically, your
what you spawn
class.
with. The world generation is really cool. Like most games with random world generation, you can put in a custom seed,
Hard
but you
is
can also
really goaded.
fine-tune the world gen by changing the frequency of certain things like ore, specific cave structures like tunnels, and a bunch of other stuff, which I thought was really cool. I didn't actually change any of these settings myself because I currently just have the one world and character, so I wanted to go in as vanilla as possible. The cutscene shows your character in Explorer discovering a strange object in the forest. You approach, touch your hand to it, and in the blink of an eye, you're zapped away from your group and stripped of most of your equipment. From this point forward, you're on your own.
L-Mans.
CoreKeeper does very little in the way of guidance, which means the beginning might be a bit of a struggle. Starting out is sort of
It's not hard, guys. Like it's really not. Like it's like Minecraft. You're like, oh, the 4 blocks make the workbench, and you don't have to guess the recipes. Like it tells you the recipes.
the hardest part if you don't know anything about how the game progresses.
Minecraft
All I
after
knew going
it
in
got
was how it
reworked.
was described to me, which was sort of like a
After
bunch of
Bedrock.
games I already loved, but when I got in, I was like, so when does that start? But it's been so long since my first experience with Terraria that I forgot I felt the same way. Lost, confused, and wondering where it was going.
Very
Well,
adventurous
CoreKeeper
game.
maintains that sense of wonder throughout its
Yeah.
entire runtime. There's so many biomes and interesting generations that every new cave or path you find is bound
Ooh,
to
he's
lead to
getting
something
shit
you
on.
haven't seen before. Similarly to other games of its type, the most powerful tool at your disposal is knowledge. The
Yeah.
knowledge of
Your
where
boy-
to go, what to make, what to save for later, what to avoid till later. CoreKeeper forces you to relish in how unfamiliar its never-ending caves are, and that's the best part, because
It's like playing Minecraft for the first time, and like not like new Minecraft where everything is like basically spoon fed to you and they give you tutorials on everything. It's like, oh, I can see all the recipes and how to do stuff, but I have to figure out how to get there.
Because that feeling of discovery hits you immediately and
And there's
just
just so many
never
cool
stops.
objects like how there is in Terraria that you just find. Like, ooh, I have a worm bazooka. You know what I mean? Like it's
The
like a
most important aspect in these games is going to be their sense of progression, and I'm happy to report that CoreKeepers is really good. It seems very simplistic at first, almost to a fault, so much so that once I put down my first crafting station, I was actually a bit disappointed. I saw the menu that opened up and I thought, wow, that's it? And then shortly after I got the next crafting station, and the next one, and the next one, and very soon I had built a house just so I had somewhere to put all of my crafting stations.
oh, well, maybe he's talking about the stations and not the benches, but just so you guys know, you do not need to keep all the benches. You just keep the latest one and it lets you go to all the old ones through that bench, like a
And at
catalog.
that point, I was barely through the game at all. There's a lot of items,
Just a
both
side note.
craftable and findable. A lot of items. I was expecting something more along the lines of Terraria with an infinitely expanding crafting menu based on your materials and such, but this works too. The relatively low amount of offerings on display in most of the crafting stations does a great job at hiding the true size of the game, something you'll
Yeah.
realize very quickly because a lot of the gear and key items are obtained through completely different methods. Many of the crafting stations are also direct upgrades to others, allowing you to dump those older variants of them, leave the new ones, and
Okay,
still
so he
have
does
access
bring it
to
up.
every recipe. This should be expected, of course, but you may have noticed that I had like 3 different versions of the same thing, so I just want to make it clear that that is because I'm stupid. If you're familiar with the genre,
Nah,
you can
we all do
probably
it
guess how
once.
it flows from here. The crafting stations, and by proxy the items you can forge and find, get progressively stronger, tools get more useful, and both get generally more ridiculous. With it, the game itself really opens up as you get more powerful and you have a lot more options in how you want to approach things. However, as you grow, so does the world. The world of CoreKeeper takes place in a canonically, literally, never-ending system of caves and tunnels, and it really
Yeah, you're
feels like
basically a
that. One of
dwarf.
my biggest worries was that this setting would get old fast, but the truth is it doesn't get old at all. Despite being underground for literally the entire game, it doesn't really feel that way. In my opinion, one of the game's largest claims to fame is its immense variety between biomes. They don't necessarily make sense, but they don't have to. This is intended to be a completely foreign environment to you and your character, so the nonsensical science of it works even better. And
Yeah.
it is, of course, ridiculously impressive just how vibrant and exciting the developers managed to make an environment that should have been, by all means, just drab and flat out boring. Another incredible decision this game makes is introducing most of its systems very early and then greatly expanding on them as it goes on. For
Yeah.
example, the rail system is a reliable form of transportation if you're willing to develop it. It can connect you to
Like
major
Minecraft,
points
yeah.
and then later easily upgraded to be faster and much more efficient. And there's a ton of stuff like that, but by far the most important form of progression is through the bosses.
Yeah, this is where it gets really Terraria because the bosses are important.
So the way these are integrated is pretty interesting. I'm going to touch on them more mechanically in a bit, so right now I just want to talk about how they work in the world. So, of course, the bosses are your main goal. Apart from just doing it for the love of the craft, much of your exploring will be in order to prepare and find the bosses, which are obviously going to be the game's most difficult encounters, and for some people, it might be the main thing they came for. The first 3 you're likely to find are all integral to progressing, so they're made pretty easy to track down, and these are the 3 that I'm going to spoil, but they come pretty early, and there's a
It's
lot
literally
after.
at the start of the
When
game.
you spawn in the world after that cutscene, you start next to that big egg-shaped core, which will be unresponsive, so it's your
CoreKeeper.
job to light it back up by defeating
Sorry.
Glurch, the Abominous Mass, Malugaz, the Corrupted, and Gorm, the Devourer, all of which are pretty aptly named if you ask me. Glurch will be the easiest and also the simplest to locate, as you should come across him
just a
naturally
slime.
after experiencing some intense screen shakes near spawn. Killing Glurch will allow you to light his statue, which should give you an idea of how the game will go from this point forward. Each of these statues allows you to trade for items, some for transportation, some are boss weapons, and the ones from Glurch include consumables that can also be used to ping the other 2 statue bosses. You may have stumbled across the dark dungeon of Malugaz on your own, or perhaps the enormous trail left for Gorm as he hurtles through the map, but if you haven't, this helps a lot. It's also worth mentioning that on top of these tradable items, each boss drops a signature chest with random drops from a pool of items. Once you've lit the 3 statues, the game, once again, greatly opens up, with the core itself instructing you to head to the Great Wall to face the Titans. This is as far as I'll go in discussing or showing specific bosses. I don't really want to spoil the fights themselves, but we've only scratched the surface with those couple. There's a lot more concerning permanent enhancements and mechanics that unlock with later bosses, but I will leave that as a surprise for you. Each of these, including the earlier ones, are actually really, really great, and as a massive fan of Terraria, I was a bit concerned about how they'd stack up to bosses from that game, especially with the big change in perspective. Given that the first 3 are already part of the world, it makes it feel really alive, since they already exist and they're all moving throughout the world on their own. Each of the fights are incredibly unique, and the later ones are somehow even better. So good that I almost wish I had it in me to spoil them, but I prefer leaving it to your own discovery.
The freedom in this game is so good. It's like Minecraft.
This last section is about a lot of different things like classes, skills, pets, and more, so I'm just going to call it player progression. I know I've made a lot of comparison to Terraria in this video, and I'm not done yet. One of my favorite parts of that game, which to be fair, I guess applies to most parts of that game, is its RPG elements with its build crafting. Now, it might not nearly be as in-depth as other tried and true RPGs, but it does allow for some variations in its class decisions. CoreKeeper feels very alike in that way, but it takes it one step further with its skill system. The early game is quite similar to Terraria in that there aren't a whole lot of class-specific items, at least not enough that are super strong in order to make one build around one archetype. I did try, but eventually my early game build became some sort of Frankenstein amalgam of melee, ranged, magic, and summoner. I was okay with this, though. It felt necessary to mix them together because no particular piece of it became too dominant to make or break my build, but I'm glad that was the case because I ended up experimenting with things that otherwise I wouldn't have tried. However, the more you use certain weapons and do certain actions, the more proficient you become with them. This is of course, that skill system I mentioned, and it ends up making the game feel a lot more RPG-ish than...
Like, dude, you build, you're better at building and crafting. If you kill things, you're better at killing things. If you mine a lot, you're the best miner in the game. Like, it's so good.
Something like Terraria. Every couple of levels with each skill, you earn a point in that category, whether it be magic, summoning, running, mining, farming, etc. Each skill has a couple of perks you can upgrade then, which adds another layer of player expression, even if at some point you could have literally everything maxed out. Between the merchant NPCs, crazy bosses, and living environments, pets are another addition that make the world feel alive, like it could exist and keep running without you. There are a bunch of pets available here, some of which are modeled after enemies, some are unique models, but they're really exciting for a couple of reasons. For one, they actually work as individual summons, slotting into a special slot in your inventory. Most of them do actually attack and do damage, while some simply provide buffs, but they all follow you around and are very cute. To get these, you'll find eggs, of which there's a bunch of methods and ways to get them, and then you throw them in an incubator, wait for them to hatch, and then you'll get that pet of a random color. But we're not done. Pets can also level up. They get skill points too, and each type of pet also has perks they can upgrade. You can name them after your real-life pets if you'd like, and have them take this journey with you, which I think is just a nice touch. I have one last thing I want to talk about, just briefly because I don't have much to say on the topic, and that's building. I just really like the whole system. It's rather simple, or it was in my experience because I was bad at it, but I liked how easy it was to create something I was personally happy with despite not being that great of a builder, which I think is helped by how good the game's visual design is.
Yes.
I made this nice little garden, which is both functional and looks okay, all in my natural meadow biome. Paired with my quaint little wooden house, I just had a really good time with the simple base building I did. But in all honesty, I think I've yapped enough. I love CoreKeeper, and so I'd love to leave the rest of it for you to find out. I'm still pretty new to the game, but god damn, is it a good time. All of my time so far has been solo, but I can only imagine how fun it is with somebody else, since it does have up to 8-person multiplayer, and I've heard people say that it's really great.
It is.
But yeah, I can't recommend this one enough. It's relaxing, interesting, and it's precisely what I've been waiting for to fall into my lap. A lot of chaos happens, like you killing each other. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like.
Which you can turn off.
If I miss anything or you have any questions, please drop a comment down below and I'll answer to the best of my ability. And of course, subscribe for more videos like this one. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Such a great video. It's I don't know how to say this. CNRMRY. But yeah, subscribe to him if you like the video. Give a like to the video in the link below. You guys really, if for any of you who haven't tried this game or are looking into trying this game or buying this game, it is a comp. You need to get it. It is something you won't regret. I think most people will like it. It's just one of those games that's like Minecraft. It appeals to a lot of people. Stardew, Terraria. But yeah, this is a comp game if you like RPGs with a lot of adventure and discovery and doing whatever the hell you want while getting stronger. But yeah, comment below what you guys think about the game. If you guys have any questions, if you guys have anything that like, you think they should add, anything you want to talk about, I'll always respond, or I try to at least. Anyways, like and subscribe. See you guys in the next one. Peace.